So the meaning of this piece actually is a drip painting piece by Jackson Pollock, and it really went against the traditional the traditional format of painting during the time. And this is why it really expresses the abstract expressionism side of painting, because it really broke the older conventions. As you can see in this painting, that there is no singular subject, and it's just essentially just a bunch of colors all mixed together. And it's really devoid of any recognizable content. And it also, in addition, as you will see in a second, that this piece really shows the emotion of the painter, in this case Jackson Pollock, and how he felt during this time, along with the historical context.
What really strikes me is that you can tell the violence in which the paint was flung on in some spaces onto the canvas. And this was a representation of more of the emotion that Pollock was feeling rather than what he actually saw in his life.
To really add on, I think that this whole painting as a whole just represents the chaos of society during the Cold War period, because you see the splash of colors, and often they're contradicting each other with the white and black, and often the red and blue. And it really just went against the constraints of society in this case, because you see there's almost no recognizable format to this. It's a flurry of colors, it's a splash. So I think Pollock was trying to make a statement against the social societal norms in society in the Cold War.
I want to add on to that because that's a very interesting point. As you can see in this painting, there are a lot of brighter colors, and that Jackson Pollock, as you said earlier, Paul, this was during the Cold War era and the era of communism, and a lot of Americans were scared of this communism, and so you could take that the brighter colors in this represents Pollock's love for America and how he believes that the values that America values in freedom and the social liberty and all of that really is superior in the world. And I think that's what he's painting about in this picture.
To really just further your point, I really think that since he has a stark contrast to colors, I think it's trying to show the duality of man.
Indeed.
As you see, the contrast of white and black, red and blue, even especially yellow, to show some ambiguity in this. So
the color choice that Pollock uses is in contrast to the traditional values of the time because of the prime colors he used, such as yellow and white and red. And these colors, was contrary to the complex palette of colors artists were using at the time.
To even further our argument, I would say just look at the color of the canvas itself. It's not a stark white usually. It's almost a light, very light and pale yellow. It just shows that even the underlying man, a child, has these inert properties that one can almost not understand.
Yes, and I think it's very interesting by your point there because as we can say in some historical context, Pollock's works were actually at one point sponsored by the American government, such as Congress and even the CIA. And so I think, as well as your point talking about the duality of man, we can also recognize that the two parts of man here. We have the side of man, which we can recognize as America through the social freedom and the liberty that we have here in America, in contrast to the oppression that the people during this time experienced with communism.
On the same token, I think really on those two sides, you can see a kind of mixing of color with this dark blue and this white, creating a lighter shade, which you're really not sure what's going on. So I think these two sides of man, the dark and evil, or good and bad, these are really mixing, and you can't really tell what's going on.
An important aspect of this painting is also the title which he gave it, Convergence, because there is no real separation of any of the colors. Everything is spread out and converging with each other. And so it's a really aptly named piece that truly represents it.
To go even further on, you see a convergence. You see almost all the colors are going to mix at a certain point. You see that really exemplifies the kind of tension found in the Cold War period, as all of these are really converging at one point, and you don't really know what color or what's going to happen has an effect of that.
Yes, we can really talk about how these different personalities of man really blend together, so to the point where it's hard to tell the difference between the different types of people.